Alright, so in today's video, as previously promised, I'm going to be taking a look at what's inside of these speakers. Now I've picked the ones I'm going to look inside. I've got the small LG satellite, the Canton satellite, the Teac satellite. I've then got the LG center channel, the Canton center channel, the Sony satellite, and the Sony center channel. So I'm going to be taking a look inside of all of these speakers here today, just so we can see the differences between the centers and the surround speakers. And just have a look at what's inside of all these speakers so you can see the difference between really crappy, really average, and really good speakers. So with that being said, let's take the grill off the Teac speakers and have a look inside of that. Alright, so here we have the Teac speaker. Now initially, the way that I look at speakers is I picture them and how I'm going to open them up. So if we look at something like the Canton here, we can see that there are no screw holes on the back or the bottom of this speaker. Therefore, the only way into it will be by removing the grill and then making our way in through the front. However, with the Teac speaker we have here, we can see on the back we have these screw holes here. So what we're going to be able to do is remove this front faceplate here just by undoing these screw holes at the back, and that saves us ripping and possibly damaging the grill. So I'm going to grab a drill, just a basic drill, and hopefully it'll fit in and I'll be able to remove the back of the speaker. However, I believe my drill is actually too big, so I'm just going to have to use a screwdriver for this speaker. Alright, so in the end I was actually able to use my impact gun just to remove these 4 little screws, and being that it was an impact gun, it was so powerful that it was basically just ripping the plastic to shreds. But now I'm hoping there should be some sort of way that I can now make my way into the speaker. Now, as you can see here, the grill is now separating from the back, and now we have the grill removed, which reveals this cheap speaker here with a foam surround, a pushed in dust cap. Oh, I wonder where that happened. And now I'm going to somehow figure out my way into the actual enclosure, because that only just removed the grill. One other thing that I'm quite curious about also is if this tweeter here is actually a tweeter or if it's just a fake plastic dome. So I'm gonna find my way into it. It probably means I'll probably accidentally destroy the speaker, but I'm curious to know what the back of this woofer looks like. Alright, so with a good pull on the front plate here, the speaker was able to be separated into 2 parts. So initially in the actual enclosure itself, if I just zoom you in, we can see here we have a cap here, which is just designed to prevent overloading from the speakers. We have the initial terminals and then this speaker wire that runs down here, which goes to the actual faceplate of the speaker. And on this faceplate here, if I just zoom you back out, we can see we go into the woofer and we run in parallel with this piezo tweeter here. So this is a real tweeter, although it's just a piezo, and you can see here it's just really cheap, really terrible sounding speaker, but it does what it's supposed to do. Now, as far as the woofer goes, it's actually got a reasonable sized magnet cover over it. We can see here it's got some size to it. It's pretty cool. However, it just has that cheap feel and look to it. So we can tell this speaker is pretty bad. It's definitely going to put up a show for a smoke show for a blowout video. So if you're interested in that, chuck a like on this video. But there we have inside of the Teac speakers. We also have a dead fly in the bottom of this enclosure here, as you can see right in the middle of the frame. But anyway, these speakers are ported, so that's how that got into there. So now that we've had a look inside of the Teac speakers, now let's have a look inside of the LG one. Alright, so here we are with the LG speaker, and again on the back here we have these 4 screw holes, which I'm hoping are going to open up the speaker. So I'm going to try, stick my impact gun into it and see if we can open these speakers. Again, I just stripped the living crap out of the screw in there, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver for these speakers because this impact gun is way too strong for these speakers. So I'm just going to use a quick screwdriver, remove all 4, and I'll be back after that. Alright, so also one thing I have to keep into mind with these ported speakers versus the sealed Cantons is the possibility of there being a spider inside, and I am one who is afraid of spiders. So what I'm going to do is hopefully be able to remove the grill off this with some ease, and I'll just quickly and slowly open it, so hopefully there's nothing inside of it that's living. Alright, so a very quick look inside has indicated that there is nothing in there, thank goodness. Let's have a quick look at the woofer. Whoa, look at the cover on the back of that magnet. That thing is absolutely huge. Have a quick close-up look of this. The woofer magnet is humongous. These speakers might actually be half decent. We have a 60 watt rating on the back here, right beside the 8 ohms reading. It's an LG brand, genuine speaker. We have a tweeter up top as well, which surprises me. But I'm gonna pull this woofer actually out so we can have a look at the front of it, because we can't because of the grill. I don't know, I can't really see through this grill. I don't know if it's gonna be just a flat cone or if it's going to have a dust cap and whatever. We can see in this one, the actual speaker isn't protected with a cap, but we do have a capacitor here, which is in the line for the tweeter. So this actually means the tweeter is crossed over instead of the speakers just being protected. So anyway, now what I'm going to do is pull this woofer out of the enclosure here so we can take a closer look at it and just have a look at the front of it, because I'm quite interested to know what the front of this woofer looks like, because I might possibly use this for a Bluetooth audio build and still be able to blow up a couple of the LG speakers. But anyway, let's do that. Also, I stand corrected. This white box that you see here is to protect the speakers, and this little black capacitor here is what crosses over the tweeter. My apologies for that, but anyway, I've now got the woofer unhooked. Let's remove the 4 screws that hold it in. Alright, so here we are with the moment of truth. What's the front of this woofer look like? Okay, so we have what seems to be quite a stiff fabric surround, fabric dust cap looking, pretty cool woofer if you ask me. This thing looks pretty nice. It's very, very beefy from behind. I don't even know, you could just barely mount this in without having to do it from the back. But anyway, this is a nice speaker. I might keep my hands on this one. Who knows? I might blow 2 up and keep the other 2, because these will probably make for really good woofers in a portable speaker. That way I can keep all the Cantons. But anyway, I might, if you want to see a free air video of this speaker, or any of the speakers for that matter, besides the Teacs, because they're terrible and I'll just be blowing them up. If you want to see a free air of this speaker, let me know down in the comment section below and I'll do that. But this speaker is bloody cool. Anyway, now let's move on to the center channel of the LG. See if it's got the same woofer and the same tweeter, or if there's a different situation there. My interpretation would be that the LG's probably got just the same setup as the satellite speakers have, whereas my guess is the Canton speakers, because they are much more high-end, will actually have 2 woofers instead of just the 1. So anyway, let's have a look inside the LG center speaker. Oh, the center channel had a ridiculous 8 screws in the back of it. Anyway, let's have a look inside this thing and see if it's in the same internally as the satellite. Alright, so the center channel here opens up like a door, and it actually doesn't separate from the other enclosure. However, it is absolutely identical to the satellite speakers. It's got the same beefy as woofer with the 60 watt RMS logo, and this one's also 8 ohms. We've got the same tweeter, the same crossover and protection circuit here. And the only difference between the front center channel and the satellites is, of course, the center channel is front ported, as we can see here. The back of the enclosure is completely, oh, there we go, it's just split in half then. The back of the enclosure is completely sealed, and the port there for the speaker is on the front. We can see it through the grill there. You can see my hand in the background. So there's the port. That's realistically the only difference, aside from the size being slightly bigger. There is a port on the front, and that is really no different to the other satellite speaker. However, now I'm going to take a look at the Sony speaker you can see here, although I'm going to take a look at the smaller one first, and then that center channel just there second. Let's see the differences between those. So also here on the back of the LG speaker, we can see that we have a max power rating of 120 watts, which even further proves my point that that woofer is actually 60 watts. That would be absolutely ridiculous if I jumped on Parts Express, maybe bought 2 of the Air Motion tweeters, and I also used 4 of the woofers out of these and built a portable speaker. That would be really awesome, or something like that. But anyway, let's now have a look at the Sony speakers. The center channel is approximately or I'd say over twice the size of the rears. So if these had the same crappy woofers in them, I'll be really disappointed. But anyway, let's have a look and see the difference between the satellite here and the center channel. So let's start it off with the satellite. I'm hoping I can just rip the grill. Oh, there we go. That didn't sound too good. Okay, so as I expected, we just have a crappy paper surround, inverted surround even. Have a look at that. We can see there the surround is actually inverted. However, this is going to be a really crappy sounding speaker, I can tell you that. There's going to be like no treble whatsoever and pretty boomy bass. But let's have a quick look at the back of this speaker. I highly doubt there's going to be any size to the magnet. If there is, it's because of the magnetic shielding. So anyway, let's remove this speaker from its enclosure. Alright, so here we go with the moment of truth. Is the Sony speaker of any size? Oh yeah, look at that beefy magnet on the back. Oh, this thing is absolutely terrible. You can see on the back we have a Sony logo just there in the middle. But besides that, this speaker is absolutely terrible. We just go straight through here, straight to the speaker. Man, that is a terrible setup. Now I'm hoping the center channel is going to have a tweeter or possibly two of these woofers, although something's making me slightly doubt that. However, for Sony's sake, I hope that is the setup in the center. Let's have a look at that. All right, so here's the center channel. Now let's have a quick look if I can rip the grill off this one. Judging by, oh, here we go. Oh, you're joking me. Oh no, it's the same tiny as little woofer. And is that supposed to be a port? Hang on, let's just check. Yes, it goes all the way through. That is supposed to be a port. And that's exactly the same woofer. The only difference between the surround channel and the center channel is this tiny little hole that has no surrounding around it. It's literally just a probably half-inch maybe size hole in the enclosure. Just to be 100% certain, I will pull out the woofer just to double check that there's not going to be some exactly the same looking beefed up woofer. So let's just quickly remove this out of the enclosure just to 100% check that it is definitely the same crappy woofer and it's going to perform exactly the same as the side channels, which are terribly. Let's have a look behind this woofer. Alright, so moment of truth. Okay, so now we have a magnetic shielding. We have a big Thailand Sony logo on the back here. However, it is pretty much exactly the same woofer, just with magnetic shielding on the back, which again, you can see now. As I always tell you, this here is just magnetic shielding. This is why speakers look beefy as with their big magnets on the back. Well, that there is exactly the same magnet as what would be on the other speaker. It's just this one's shielded and the other one is not. So when I talk about magnetic shielding and why speakers look bigger than their magnets actually are, there is a perfect example. That's a magnetically shielded magnet, whereas the one before isn't. However, it's exactly the same magnet underneath this shiny silver aluminium plate. So with that being said, now let's step over to the amazing Canton speakers. I'm sorry I'm such a fanboy, but the Canton speakers are truly awesome compared to speakers like this. So let's move on to those now. Alright, so here we are with the adorable little Canton speaker. I'm such a fanboy of Canton, but I'm such a firm believer in their products being high quality, German made, good quality stuff. So anyway, this speaker, unlike the others, doesn't have any screw holes on the back. So the only way to get into one of these is by removing the grill. And to do that with grills that have mesh on them like this, the best way I find is just to grab a flathead screwdriver, just like the one I have here, and just get it in the little holes on the side here and slowly pry at the speaker. Sorry about the autofocus here. And just slowly pull it, and you can see it's slowly lifting out like that. I'm shaking because it's a really weird angle. You can see there that now I've just got enough leverage just to remove the grill with my bare hands like this. And then next, before you know it, there's the grill off, and here we look at the cute, and oh, look at that woofer. That woofer actually looks really high quality. It actually looks like probably a hi-fi-ish woofer. And we've got a nice as tweeter and a high quality woofer with the Canton speakers here. So I'm actually just gonna zoom you in a bit more. So we have on the back again, some really cool little terminals. These are the only ones that actually have terminals on the back. The rest of them just have push pins that on the LGs, as I mentioned in the last video, the testing one, they're actually broken, so I can't actually hook wires into these. That's why I'm a firm believer that these terminals like this are way better. But anyway, now let's remove this awesome looking woofer. See, this is the difference. You can always tell between the Teac woofers. You can see it's got like a fabric surround, a shiny propylene dust cap and some just shitty looking silver surround versus this, which looks like it's a high quality, nice rubber surround, nice quality dust cap. You can always tell the difference between quality and not quality. Anyway, I'm gonna remove the woofer now so we can have a look at what's inside of this. Man, that doesn't even look, that looks like a silk dome tweeter. It is so small. I don't think I've ever seen a silk dome that small. To put a perspective to that, there's my fingernail of my index finger in comparison. That is a tiny ass tweeter. Look at the size of it compared to these screws. Let's have a look inside of this speaker and see what interesting things we can find. All right, so I now have all of the screws removed. Let's see if I can pull out the woofer here so we can have a, oh, it seems to be stuck. Let me see if I can pull the woofer out, and once I do that, I'll show you what the back of it looks like. All right, so there's actually a little bit of a trick to getting this woofer out, but we can see even the wires they use are high quality. Let's just quickly remove the terminals off of the speaker. And one thing I noticed as well is, yes, the magnet isn't as big, or the cover isn't as big as the LG was, but man, it just feels better quality. You can see the basket there is even powder coated, and this speaker just looks really, really nice. If we have a look in the surround and everything, the actual voice coil itself is very, very big. Not that the camera's picking that up, but it's just a really, really nice speaker all around. So anyway, there's the Canton woofer. I'm not gonna have a look at the center channel woofers because I'll assume they'll be the same. Again, also we can see here, I don't know if this plate comes out for the tweeter, but we can see inside that the tweeter is an actual real silk dome tweeter. We can see there the back of the magnet, as opposed to it being a piezo like the Teacs were. You can see there's actually a little magnet inside there. Sorry about the autofocus, it's quite hard. You can see there's a little magnet inside there. So this is actually a proper silk dome tweeter. But anyway, now my assumption for this center channel here is it's going to have two woofers, unlike the Chinese Sony speaker and the LG as well. It's not going to be identical to these with the one woofer and that. It might be ported. If it's got a woofer, a tweeter, and a port, that would actually surprise me. I believe it has two woofers and a tweeter in the middle because of the weight of it. But with that being said, let's just put this back together now quickly. There's a bit of a strategy to getting the woofer into here because the wires are such a thick gauge. They're probably 14 gauge wire, maybe 16. I'm probably over exaggerating, but it's definitely some nice quality wires and stuff as well. Let's see. We have a proper crossover network. Let's just pull this foam out. We have a proper crossover inside too as well. Again, high quality. Even the capacitors are branded Canton. That's when you know you got high quality stuff. Same with my Deli stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna put this back together now, and let's have a look under the grill of the center channel to see if it is the high quality thing like I believe it is. So let's do that. All right, so as I'm sure this video has become extremely long, I'm just gonna quickly pull the grill off of the Canton center channel, and then I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. Next video will be what's inside of the receivers, so I can see if I can find any obvious faults that might be causing some of them not to work. But anyway, moment of truth. Do we have two woofers, one woofer and a tweeter and a port, or just one woofer and a tweeter? Drop your comments down below. Let's have a look. Canton, high quality stuff. There it is. We have two woofers, just like I thought we'd have. So, are we sealed? Let's have a look. So if I push on this driver here, does the other one move? Yes, so it's a perfectly sealed enclosure too. So again, just super high quality stuff here. If you've enjoyed this video, let me know with a thumbs up on the video. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know. Subscribe to my channel down below, down there, if you haven't already. And drop a comment saying what was your favorite speaker of the lot. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this one.